All right. Hello. How are you? Hi, Pete. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. So today we are doing day three. We're already on day three. We're going to talk about the law of resonance. This is a major law. And it's actually really, really exciting because it's one of my most favorite topics when it comes to the keys of actually using your mind over the matter. Okay. So hold on a second, resonance. Let me go ahead and post this out here so everybody can see and join that is available. My European family, welcome. I'm so happy to have you here. Hello, Blanca, welcome. Good morning, good evening from whatever part of the world you're tuning into. And it's such an honor to connect with you all. So today we're going to talk about resonance. And I really love this topic because it is literally the key to binding all of these laws together. And it's also the language that allows us to translate this interdimensional language into form, into matter, to work with matter, to transcend the matrix, to master the matrix, to heal the body, to shift and change your life in such a powerful way. And we're going to talk about the ins and outs of resonance and what does it mean? How does it affect you? How does it manifest into your physical body? So we're going to talk about why the subconscious mind creates, how the subconscious mind is creating. We're going to talk about how we can alter outcomes based on using vibrational frequency, sound, and emotion. And we're going to talk about ancestral lineages and birth, which I touched a little bit on yesterday, but we'll jump into that as well today. We're going to talk about challenges and growth, how we overcome circumstances based on our vibrational frequency. And we're going to touch a little bit on the law of accident, which is what we're going to talk about also tomorrow. So welcome, JK80's horror film, Blanca. So great to see you. Welcome. All my love to you guys. It's so amazing to be here as always. So let's jump into it. I want to share with you a little PowerPoint presentation that I made for this specific topic. Let's get into that. So let me go ahead and open this up. How's everybody doing? I got so many incredible comments after our last lives, and I really want to answer your questions that you might be having. So let's go ahead and put those questions in the comments, and I'm going to answer question that came up. Let me just find it. I'm looking for it now so that I can answer this question that was so wonderful. Let me see it. Okay, so question about, it's a kind of a long paragraph, but I'm going to read it. So Deborah Simpson says, thank you. Recently, I went to a psychic surgeon. I had mixed advice from a friend that shared the info and another was so against, but I chose to go ahead. And so they did psychic clearing and they were able to find that they had 76 cords attached to gargoyle entities, a curse, something else, but she doesn't remember what it was, and various other attachments that they found in her body. And she says, I'm curious that I have got my abilities to the level I can see yet, hence my decision to go ahead and work with this healer. So since the day after, I felt really tired, and then all things were progressing great. And then it went chaotic. But that could be the patterns that I've lived my life like. I felt stuck and a cycle for years and never seemed to be able to move forward. I do have a theory, and it's a bit personal, but she won't put that in the comments. So any views on this? How can I find out if this is what happened? I'm learning so much from you, and I'm truly grateful for it is, for as it all seems to be exactly what I need to learn to move on. Thank you. Much love from Scotland. Deborah Simpson, thank you so much. So she went to a healer, psychic surgeon. They found all of these different things, gargoyles and such in the body. So yeah, so my perspective about this is a little bit different and important because Um, First of all, something that we need to understand when we work with healers, that depending on the kind of modality that they're focusing on, a lot of times there will be a filter of perception that would allow them to tune into information, and they will perceive and translate that information through their own filter of perception. Okay, so in this case, gargoyles, attachments, beings, and things like that are very specific to the perspective of the healer. So we'll start there. Some people come to me, they say they go and they find aliens or draconians or reptiles or archons or fairies, things like that in the body, okay? Or jinn. So here's the thing about this. We obviously have infinite amounts of information that is in our multidimensional body. As you know, as you mentioned, as I showed you the field of the body that is interconnected to so many different archetypes and bodies and layers, we are constantly moving in and out of this information. And actually, through our progression, through our spiritual evolution, we fall out of alignment with these things, or we integrate them further into ourselves. So I guess the important thing to do with this information is that every single being that is in your space that you become aware of, we have to learn how to work with it, okay? If we do not work with that information, a lot of times we are missing the opportunity, and because everything comes into resonance, everything comes to the surface at the right time. The problem with humans in this healing process is that a lot of times something will arise and then they will be distracted by something else and they will ignore it completely and just change the attention. This is a problem because this is how we end up getting entangled with things that are not in the highest good for ourselves. Okay, this is what I would call the unconscious interaction with aspects of ourselves. And this is why I'm a huge advocate of coming into full awareness, coming into lucidity in waking state and dream state, or any other state out of body that you are literally in searching and experiencing and researching your field, will allow you to become aware of the things that, for example, this healer found in your body. Well, what do you do with that information once it's found? That's the thing. And it has to do with contractual agreements. We create experiential agreements with every entity that we come in contact with because we are in resonance to it. And as I mentioned how resonant functions yesterday, I'm also going to get really deep into that topic here, but we're going to talk a lot about frequency today. The mechanics of resonance means that our vibrational frequency matched this other entity or being at some point in our evolution, in our existence, in our waking state, from the birth, from the womb until now. Some part of us was in resonance with it. Therefore, we come in contact with it. And whether you're in contact with it because of the healer or yourself, and this is something that you need to be mindful of, that if the healer isn't an absolute 0 point in a place of neutrality, what happens is that they can actually bring into our space, these concepts of beings through their own filter, okay? That's why a healer has to be in absolute 0 point at all times. And you, as the receiver of the healing, need to be mindful that you are in 0 point in your healing as much as possible so that you don't become entangled with things. You also need to understand energetic hygiene, that your field is constantly completely closed and sealed, and you are aware of your space at all times in order to avoid having leaking of your life force externally or bringing on things that are not in alignment with you. Okay, so what do we do? What happens when we get healings like this, when things are uncovered? First of all, we have to work with a contractual agreement. So every time that we identify an entity or a being in our space, you need to shine your 7th and your 8th chakra, which is your creation center, over the being in order to identify the contract that has been created for your experience. What is the lesson being experienced here? Okay. Once you identify the contract, you want to understand The easiest way to identify its relationship to you is by identifying, is it a big contract? Is it a small contract? If it's a small contract, chances are this is a contracted state of experience rather than expansive. And therefore, it may not have your best interest. So you want to dissolve that out of your way. If it has no contract, but it's in your space, that's a parasitic exchange. You want to eliminate that out of your space completely. And you do so by identifying and visualizing the energetic cord, the resonant frequency that you have created in order to attract this entity into your space. Entities will not manifest into our space if we are not in resonance with them. Okay, they will not manifest into our space because, as I mentioned, on the law of frequency, I'll show you the video again. We cannot be in alignment. We cannot even see those things. Our radio dial is tuned at a different frequency that won't pick up that information. Okay, so it is super, super important, essentially, for us to understand how to navigate these laws of attraction, how we attract this information, and essentially how to work in clearing that information out of your space. Okay, so what's next? Essentially, after you begin to identify the contractual agreement, you want to clear it out. And as you identify the thread that connects you to the being, you want to neutralize whatever frequency you are sharing with this being. You want to neutralize it into a 0 point. Okay, which means not neutrality, non-judgmental neutrality. How do you come into non-judgmental neutrality? Is that you no longer fear. You are very mindful of the fearful emotions that you have that are triggered by the encounter of the being. Very important, okay? Because remember that even the form of things is a geometric structure. It's a geometric shape. Just the way my vibrational frequency creates the physical body, its appearance, the way that I move, the way that I speak, in your body, everything that you are is a product of your vibrational signature. The vibrational signature is emerging from the subconscious mind, and that creates the form. Okay, because the vibrational frequency of the morphogenetic field brings that instruction into its vibrational essence for its expression. Okay, so every being that we see, the scarier the being, essentially to us, because we have very limited filters of perception, essentially will dictate the kind of vibrational frequency that is in resonance with us and things that we need to work through. Okay, so super, super important. How do we neutralize those core entanglements in order to bring them into non-judgmental observation? This is the work. Right here is the work. It's not just a matter of cutting cords, sending them out into space, because unless you integrate and neutralize the vibrational resonance that brings them into your space, remember that we are thousands of fractals, millions of fractals of ourselves that exist simultaneously. So it's like we think, oh, let's clear him out of my space and I'm here and I'm fine in the physical. No, you are an interdimensional being. And actually our job is to become aware of ourselves in all dimensional layers in order to become one again. One. We are one. So even the beings that we interact that are not as desirable are a reflection of ourselves in a lower state of consciousness, okay? So this is where we begin to cultivate unconditional love, which brings me to the next part of this conversation about how to heal this, essentially, is the most powerful protection in this universe is the embodiment of unconditional love, which is the ability to see all as a part of yourself in a non-judgmental state of neutrality. Okay, not love the emotion of I love this, I want this, not that kind of emotional contractive love. It is an expansive, unifying state of being that allows you to become one with everything around you. Okay, and that is actually the most powerful protection. It is the most powerful energetic geometric design for your physical body, because what happens when you embody unconditional love is that geometrically, as I'm going to share with you today, we come into this certain alignment that is a powerful structure of light. Your body becomes a powerful structure of light. You become a conduit of life force. That is what we want to learn how to embody, because that's what allows us to navigate and clear through frequencies that are not in alignment with us anymore, that we are neutralizing. Okay. So to finish the question, what happened in the case of your healing is that maybe at the time of the healing, we believed that things were being eliminated or changed or shifted in our space. The problem with this is that if we don't do the clearing ourselves, we are not going to have the neurological biochemical response that is needed from you, that links you to the vibrational frequency that creates the resonance mismatch of this organism. Okay. This is why I always tell people, you know, you can use healers, but use healers to teach you how to do the healing. Don't just depend on someone and just rely on them to do the work, because that's never the case. There is no such thing as a healer that heals you. You are always healing yourself, always. And if you don't understand what you're doing, of course, it's not going to be a sustained healing. It'll just be a temporary psychological healing that has no foundation. It's a thought of being healed, but it's not supported by subconscious and biochemical, bioelectrical responses in the body. Healing cannot be sustained. So what happened in this case is that, you know, everything is going okay for a couple of days, for, you know, for a little bit, but then all of a sudden our vibrational frequency drops when we start going back into hypnosis, and that's it. You are right back where you started, into that resonant frequency that is now no longer in alignment with you. Okay, so that being said, the shift of our vibrational frequency is essential for healing, and we have to sustain that vibrational frequency. The problem is that after having that healing done, we didn't do the homework, the biophysical homework, to support that shift for a long time. Okay, so this is what happened. And then, of course, things can go very south, because when we access a higher octave of frequency and then we fall asleep, we can drop really, really low. And we fall into the law of accident. Okay, so when you don't maintain your vibrational frequency, you fall to the mercy of the law of accident. That's the law of the universe, which we will talk about more today, this week. Okay. All right, guys. So great to see you guys. Hello, John, Lee, Love Light, Tao Tang. Welcome from Sacramento. John Peel, Doug Digga, Grandizer. Wow, you're live. Much love, Grandizer. So great to see you here. Hair is on point. Nice. Happy to hear that. Anita Razuli says, wonderful, beautiful souls. Wonderful to see you, Anita. Grandizer says, Geraldine dropping some serious wisdom right here. Thank you. A healer will hold space and remind you of your own power. Exactly. And that's really what we want to do. As healers, also, this speaks to the level of the healer, because the healer has to always be in neutrality. If they align with your pain and your suffering, get lost and entangled, they would never be able to hold space for you. So the healer always has to be neutral, and the purpose of the healer has to be in a higher octave, always. Okay. All right. Do these entities get entangled automatically when you are not in an unconditional love state? Or how does this happen if you're not connecting or thinking about them consciously? Right. So the thing is, Blanca, about that question is that we are actually more proactive in our dream state than we are in our waking state. Okay. So the majority of our experiences are interdimensional, in which, because we are not attached to the physical, we can travel, navigate, and experience many dimensional experiences simultaneously. And we do so every night when you fall asleep. Whether you remember your dreams or not, you are experiencing many dimensional layers. So what happens essentially is that you make all kinds of contractual agreements that you might not be aware of in this dream state, because you're navigating these higher levels you know, between 7th and 13th dimensional plane. Some of you might go even higher, actually. But the whole point is that you are navigating these dimensional layers in which you are existing simultaneous lives. Okay, that's the thing you don't realize. So people end up with hybrid children. People end up with experiences as super soldiers, experiences as being seeding life on other planets. You guys have abstract dreams. All of these are different layers that are filtered through the human mind of what you're doing. And the majority of agreements, experiential agreements that we make in these dream states, they affect our interdimensional navigation. So the next morning when you come back into your body, you begin to realize, you begin to remember, you know, some things that you had in that dream, but they shift you subconsciously, okay? So you are already in alignment with these entities and beings all the time, because you are a complex human being that within your body, depending on how you manage your vibrational frequency, remember, whether you are in survival state or whether you are in an expanded state of consciousness, that's the resonance that aligns you interdimensionally on all levels. Okay, so if this is you, this red figure, if that red figure is you in waking state, then that's the kind of beings that you're going to come in contact with. All the beings and entities that are in alignment with red, the hertz of frequency of red, which is survival, protection. That's how you are co-creating your universe. That's why we say creator states. This is how much power you have over your everyday experience. Wherever your attention is, wherever your subconscious mind is seeding attention, that's what you are creating in your life. Okay, so if you're in that red, you're completely disconnected from source, you're completely entangled in the material realm. All you're going to see is entities that resonate with parasitism and imbalance, essentially unconscious exchanges. Okay, the higher octave you activate within your perception, the higher your geometry changes, the higher vibrational frequency you reach in order for you to access higher dimensional beings. This is why I always say in interdimensional contact, parasitic exchanges only happen from the 13th dimensional plane and under. Okay, the higher you go in the dimensional layers, the less parasitic these interactions and exchanges are going to be. Why? Because of the law of exchange and the law of free will in the universe. It's part of the laws that you and I are going to be discussing on this challenge. But essentially, the law of free will states that the higher and the more unity consciousness you are, the less you interfere with any other organism, because you understand divine order. You understand the self-organizing perfection that every human's experience is, and you respect that. That is a high functioning being. You don't say, oh, I'm getting a hit, I'm getting a intuitive thing, and you're going to go reach out to the person and you're just going to tell them. Sometimes you can cause a lot of suffering for that person, because that person, first of all, might not be in alignment with the information. They might not be in the state where they can receive that. They might actually contract even worse. And then you have participated in the slowing down of that process. And that entire scenario is in resonance with your own contribution, with your own self, your own growth. So in other words, you are also contracting your own growth. Okay. So we have to be very mindful of the way that we utilize our abilities. And the more advanced intelligent beings, they do not interfere with organisms in the way. The way that they function is the way that high alchemists function, which is through their own personal work. They shift frequency and then they affect the collective, because we are interconnected through our genetic code, DNA, and we are interconnected through the morphogenetic field. we can actually create greater change in this way, more compassionate, subtle, gentle change that emerges from the other organism naturally because it is triggered within the field. That is true healing, okay? It's not an imposed healing, all right? So that's the difference between that and essentially, we go into these higher states of frequency. So let's jump right in. I'll take questions at the end, guys. Today, we're going to talk about the law of resonance. We are talking about integrating the laws of the universe. And today we are doing resonance. Let's talk a little bit about them. Okay, so we're going to start with talking about the solfeggios because there are 9 main frequencies in the universe that create. And I will explain in depth these, but each one of these solfeggio frequencies have a geometric expression, okay? The first is basically talking about 174 that relieves pain, tension, and stress. 285 heals and restores tissue. 396 releases fear and guilt. 417 releases negativity and heals trauma. 432 is the heartbeat of the earth. 528 is essentially the love frequency. 639 is for harmonious relationships, but let's get really deep into this, okay? Each one of these frequencies essentially has its own geometric shape, which I will show you. And essentially, when we embody these frequencies, our body literally changes geometric expression through our vibrational signature, okay? So pay attention to that. When your vibrational signature changes, the vibrational signature is the frequency that is created by everything that you are and everything that you have the potential of becoming. So essentially, the solfeggio frequencies are as follows, right? So let's go deeper, okay? 417 is used to facilitate change and break negative patterns. 528, it's created to transform DNA. Okay, and this is really interesting. I wanted to add this here for you. In 2018, a study from Japan discovered that music tuned to the frequency of 528 significantly reduced in the endocrine systems. Okay, all the stress, the chemicals that are emitted in the endocrine system, it reduced it, and it allowed the autonomic nervous system to come into a state of harmony. The study published in the Journal of Addiction Research and Therapy, the frequency of 528 hertz reduced the toxic effects of ethanol on cells. This is alcohol, okay? It is also said to be native to many indigenous music. So I want to mention something about this research about the Journal of Addiction, okay? 528 hertz reduced toxic effect of ethanol on the effects. This is really, really interesting because in my GPAC course, I teach about grounding, okay? And I'm not talking about the grounding of going into grass and stepping barefoot. That is absolutely relevant, and it is the same effect that I'm going to share with you now, but we do grounding energetically, okay? So we visualize a cord of energy connecting to our body down through the center of the earth and anchoring into the core of the planet. When we do that, when it allows our essence to come fully into the body, okay? Most of us, we are not in the body because the body is too much for us, because we have a dysregulated nervous system, because we are in survival. Most of us don't want to be in the physical body. We are afraid of truths. We're fearful of the unknown. We're fearful of feeling. Sensations are overwhelming. So essentially, we disconnect and we're just hovering up here. What happens with the body when that happens is that it's open season, essentially, vibrationally, because we are not home. We become a host to all kinds of entities, attachments, and anything else that wants to experience through the body. So what happens is that the body ends up interacting and becoming in resonance with very low vibrational frequencies. And this doesn't only affect your body through the frequency, but your entire your microbiome also comes in alignment with that survival mechanism. So what happens is that you start craving more sugar, you create parasites in your body because you become a host for parasites, both physically and interdimensionally. And what I want to mention about the ethanol aspect is that what I learned through working with so many people in training energy. I back in the day used to drink white wine. And when I would drink white wine, because I'm very low tolerance, just half a glass of wine would really create a buzz in me. And I absolutely hated that sensation because you're dizzy, you're not able to connect with your body, and it's just such a disconnected sense that your entire senses become numbed completely. So what happened is that when I learned how to do these techniques, I learned how to ground myself in that moment. And what I noticed is that it completely immediately took me out of those side effects that the alcohol had on my body. Okay, immediately. So as I grounded, all of those feelings of disconnect and dizziness that the alcohol can affect cleared from the body completely. It was unbelievable. So this is something that I teach, and it's also taught in a lot of recovery centers that are now incorporated Qigong exercises, energy work, and pranic healing. People that are utilizing any kind of a recovery from addiction, when they begin to ground in their body and use energy work in order to shift their frequency, they can immediately help lessen the effects of addiction, or those that are detoxing, for example, from addiction. So this is the power of vibrational frequency, essentially. 639 is said to help reconnect and enhance relationships. It's corresponding to the heart chakra. So our heart chakra, essentially, we can shift and expand the heart chakra into different vibrational frequencies based on our subconscious input. Okay. 741 to help us find solutions and self-express, throat chakra. 852, third eye chakra, to help return to spiritual order, right? So when we open our third eye, we open the gates of intuition and truth, and we see truth in the physical body. 963 creates room for oneness and unity. It's said to activate the pineal gland and the crown chakra. Now, those of you that participated in my alchemical transformation challenge, I talk about 963 a lot, because actually this is the harmonious state of the universe, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. There's many different frequencies based on what we're trying to achieve. Okay. So now let's talk about the earth. Okay, so this is really beautiful. The Schumann resonance is at 786 to 8 hertz. Okay, so when we ground, when we connect to the center of the earth, we're basically aligning. And what happens when we come into the Schumann resonance is that we begin to align with the natural clock of the earth, the natural regeneration system of the earth. So sleep cycles come back into alignment. Eating cycles, breathing cycles, all the organs of the body come into alignment, because depending on what hemisphere of the body you live on, there are certain times of days where the organs, because the organs are connected with planets, the organs are vibrational frequencies, and they, depending on how we are moving, each one of those has an enhanced moment of healing and regeneration throughout the day. Okay, when we understand that clock, your body automatically goes into alignment when you go into nature to this clock, but you can cultivate this connection by coming into alignment with this earth resonance, which helps heal the body from pains and aches as well. It comes into the state of neutrality. Now, there's also the frequency of the universe, which is really important in terms of healing. It's also known as Verdi's A. So for those of you that played music, I'm a violinist for many years. And, tuning into these frequencies, growing up with classical music, I learned a lot about cultivating a very refined hearing and sound to these frequencies. So when we would listen in these closed sonic rooms to certain pieces, they create an immediate reaction in your body, okay? And 432 is this frequency of the universe, which is also a pure mathematical tone. And I'll explain a little bit about that. It's kind of a complex formula to understand that. But within these numbers, these numeric codes of the universe, just like DNA translates into mathematical equations, we are essentially speaking the language of the universe through numbers, through mathematics. Math has always been my favorite topic, subject in school, and because there's a formula that is exact, that comes out to certain outcomes, and nature follows those natural laws, those natural orders, okay? So this frequency of the universe is very powerful. By the way, for those of you that are in the Bay Area, if you would like to join me on the 30th of this month, I will be hosting a sound bath that I go deep into alchemical practices with a sound frequency of 432. This is the frequency that I utilize for healing in my sound frequency session. So you can go ahead and join that. So couple equations that you guys can study in your own time, okay? But something that's very interesting that happened, before I go here, let me share this with you. In the 30s, something very interesting happened, that the vibrational scales of music were shifted, okay? They were shifted from 432 to 440 hertz, okay? Now, the problem with this, there's a lot of information about 4040 frequency. This is through cymatics, what that 440 frequency looks like, essentially. It's a very dense, it's a very heavy frequency. And there is a lot of disorder that comes from this frequency, okay? It's a depletion of life force. It causes a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, and essentially it really brings the nervous system into a dysregulation. Now, why would the music industry shift their frequency to these hertz in the 30s? And there are a lot of information about it, but I will share with you what I have been shown essentially through my channeled experiences, is that this goes very deep into the conversation of DNA, okay? There are certain groups on this planet Earth that understand the mathematics and the frequencies of DNA. Our DNA is functioning at a very specific vibrational frequencies, okay? When our body comes into harmonious resonance, our body creates codes through shapes, through geometric shapes, because we are mostly made out of water. And of course, plasma, which is attuned and in resonance with different vibrational frequencies. These geometric shapes are exact, harmonious systems of information. They are plasma biocomputing receptors of information. Your DNA receives information and it also gives off information. Your vibrational signature of everything that you are is a product of what is encoded in your DNA and what is being expressed through your gene codes, okay? And essentially, what happens is that every single one of these shapes that makes up our genetic structure of our DNA is operating at certain hertz. And depending on how we're changing frequency, that geometric structure will change, okay? It will change. So let's go back up here to talk about these frequencies, because the groups that are trying to maintain people in the experience of separation in this matrix create opportunities by creating environments in which the frequency forces the human to come into a state of survival. That is the design of the matrix. That is the way that the parasitic aspects of this matrix imposes its control. And it's an illusion. It's an illusion for them because they believe that they will have control through this. And it's an illusion for us because we forget who and what we are, and we allow our sleepy unconscious hypnosis states to just adapt to the surroundings without states of consciousness. And so that is a major abuse that we do on our physical organisms because we essentially are purposely falling out of alignment with our highest expression. Not only are we falling out of alignment with our highest expression, but we're falling into alignment with survival, which is a temporary truth, not a whole truth. But some of us, we resonate in the survival state and we cause ourselves major suffering and essentially fall into cycles of perpetual suffering over and over again. So every single one of these numbers can be fractalized, you can say, into different numerical codes. Okay, when you divide 432 vertex A with the universe, with the number of the universe 12, what happens is you end up with 36. Okay, when you divide 432 with 12, you end up with 36. Now, in the mathematical Pythagorean and also Kabbalistic numerical formulas of understanding core numbers, we add the two single numbers. Okay, always you pair them up and you add them, and then you pair those up and you add them, and you continue doing that in order to get to the formula, the pure form numerical essence that is derived from the numerical structure and communication. So the number that always comes out is 9, and 9 is very important. Okay, 9 is essentially the base structure of the human body in the matrix. The 9-dimensional layers of the body pertain to the DNA of the earth. Okay, because the DNA of the earth consists of the first 9-dimensional layers. Okay, remember the 9-dimensional layers of the earth are the DNA of the earth. Okay, so remember Tesla said, remember the code of the universe. If you know 369, you know the language of the universe. I think I put that down there somewhere. But essentially, that he knew that, and many of us are now remembering the concept of vibrational frequency in alignment with the universe. So let's go a little bit deeper into what that means. Okay. Every single wavelength of frequency has a different geometric output. Every single one of these shapes that you see in front of you is a different dimension. Okay, every dimension is created on the base platonic solid that makes up that dimension, and it's utilized as a fractalization filter from which is expressed form. That's why our human bodies look the way they do in this dimension. That's why other beings in other dimensional planes look the way that they do in physically. It's a biophysical, biogeometrical structure that is produced by sound frequency. So there is a natural order. Depending on how frequencies are expressed in these self-organizing patterns, the way that they are expressed, it creates the wave flow of energy to move in different ways. So if we have disorder in our physical body, if the geometrical structure that we are holding in the body is one that comes out of order as a result of watching too much television, listening to destructive music, feeling anger and hate in your body, the way that energy flows through your body changes its channels because your geometry is changing based on vibrational frequency. So again, we talked about centripetal and centrifugal vortex spinning. When we are in states of contraction and our life force is in a disorganized manner, we deplete life force and we cannot co-create, we cannot contract. I should say rather attract. Many ancient cultures all around the world. I'm not going to go too much into this because Well, there's lots of reasons, but what I want to focus on is the now. We already know that in our world history, we have encoded geometrically in pyramids, in ancient cultures, over and over again. They have uncovered this wisdom that you and I are sharing with one another today. Okay. How do you find that information? By going inside. Thousands and thousands of these ancient cultures cultivated that interconnection because technology was different. Okay. But a very interesting thing about this, okay, 144,000 is a very important numerical structure that is utilized in all of these different kinds of pyramids, structures around the world. And 144 is also relevant to the genes that we have. We have 144 DNA strands, essentially, of genes that are available to the human organism. Not just the human organism, to all organisms. All life is based on 144,000. So this is a very important number to understand because it's encoded in many different things in nature. It is essentially the core to understanding this dimensional layer. Okay. Now, what happens when these shapes create a vibrational hertz? These shapes essentially create the platonic solids that make up the structure of this universe. Okay. It's very, very interesting, but we can literally turn these waveforms into frequency. In 2000, excuse me, I'm going to sneeze. In 2018, I had a hypnotherapy with Barbara Lamb, with Barbara Lamb. Now, when I met her, I didn't know that she had studied so deeply, deeply with crop circles and vibrational frequencies. And she actually went into the whole study of the geometry of these systems and how they could potentially create a language. I didn't know that when I met her. But what I channeled through that session, I guess it was because our frequencies came into a resonance, was that there is a language, there is a universal language. If we learn to read crop circles by translating the geometry into frequency, you can understand what is being communicated. You can understand the part of the universe that these crop circles or the beings that created them emerge from, or the information that is encoded almost like a map, like sequences, location signatures of this information. Okay, it's really amazing. Now I'm going to share with you light, sound, and alpha brainwaves. There is a correlation between the frequencies, but when we go into dream state and also when we're in waking state, we have to remember to try to always come into alpha state. Okay, we want to come into alpha state because in alpha state, this is where we can be conscious in a state of co-creation. All right. So essentially, we are in a relaxed, receptive, aware, conscious state. Now, in dream state, as I mentioned, the most important part of our navigation is dream state. So how essentially, how do we come into dream state and we navigate different dimensional layers is through our brain waves. Okay, this is the key. In order to leave the body and begin navigation, when we change the brain waves, we can essentially enter into these higher dimensional layers. The deeper we can, the higher the vibrational frequency of the wavelength of your brain wave, the higher you go, the more unified you come into with the morphogenetic field, which means that you access more information. Now, when we put this in comparison to colors, the color of your entire field also changes during that navigation. And all of these vibrational frequencies, essentially, this is exactly what I was telling you, that when you are traveling out of body, what you encounter completely depends on your vibrational frequency. And your vibrational frequency depends on the subconscious mind, once again, okay? So what does that mean? The subconscious mind, all of the programs that you're running make up a certain vibrational signature. When we are in states of trauma for long sustained times, it's very difficult for us to change our vibrational frequency unless we change neural pathways and regulate the nervous system in order to regulate the chemical expressions. So we essentially must learn how to come into a state of harmony. Let's look at the planetary harmonic spectra, okay? In the same way, now remember I mentioned that when you're born, the time that you are born is when you essentially take a photograph of the universe, and that creates a vibrational signature. That vibrational signature that is created by all of the planets that come into play when you came into this planet Earth are your core life essence. They match the core life essence of everything that you are and everything that you have the potential of becoming. Okay, so that's another range of vibrational resonance you need to understand, which is why, once again, you are born into the families that you're born into. Okay. So let's go into talking about planetary parameter comparisons. This is going deeper into planets. And the reason why I wanted to show you this is because beings, entities, interdimensional beings also have their own vibrational signature. And our vibrational signature as a human race has a certain vibrational signature that's in alignment with Earth. Okay, that's our signature. And the color that we emit is the color green. Okay, so other planets, other systems, other constellations also operate at these different vibrational ranges that create different colors. This is why beings have plasma that are blue, plasma that are green, plasma that are yellow. And it's also depending on the minerals and the materials that make up the plasma of that organism. For humans, we have iron in our blood, okay? And that's because our sun produces blood, iron. The sun essentially codes the human blueprint into what it is based on this planetary structure and dimension, okay? Okay, so now let's talk about earth resonance and musical scales. Essentially, sound frequency. Again, we talked about 440 going out of alignment. As you can see, 440, here's the manipulation of sacral energy, right? So exchanges, sexual energy, when that is inverted, essentially music becomes very primal, and there's a lot of bass. Because bass creates hypnotic states. That repetitive bass creates hypnotic states in humans. That's why it's really easy to hypnotize them. And you can do that with that music that is, at the frequency of 440 hertz. Okay, so different vibrational frequencies give you different outputs, and this also affects your DNA. So emotionally, every single one of these vibrational frequencies that has a color, we talked a little bit about color, but essentially you can use these hertz, these colors, to change outcomes in environments, okay? If you use one of these frequencies and you fill your body with these colors, it changes the way you feel immediately, okay? If you, excuse me, if you enter peace into your body, let's say it's this violet color, you experience peace. If you enter the color of guilt or shame, you experience guilt or shame. So based on this understanding, okay, one of the things that I used to teach business executives when I used to teach corporate meditation in Silicon Valley, essentially, we are learning how to master and manipulate time and space. And we can do that because time and space is on the foundation of frequency. Okay, everything is frequency. So if you go into a meeting, and I also use this with people in order to help them with important situations like court cases, situations like this, okay, where they're very difficult, always in alignment with the highest truth. Never, this doesn't work if you're in alignment without a body. Why? Because here's why. Your entire body is a geometrical structure. If your body is in alignment with source, you can't tune into these abilities because you have no intuition. Your intuition isn't cultivated. You're not operating in alignment with the laws of co-creation. There's a certain geometrical structure to co-creation. You can only use these tools when you are in those higher states of consciousness, because otherwise you are abiding by the higher laws of cause and effect. So that's really important to note. So we're never using these tools for manipulation or in order to cheat yourself out of things or get away from things or steal things from other people or manipulate. Never, never, because they don't work that way. But they do work that when you come into your highest expansive state in alignment with source, because your ethical structure is based on unity consciousness and truth. When you are in that state, you can utilize these tools in order to affect the outcomes of unconscious beings. This is also how we change timelines collectively. When more critical mass wakes up consciousness, collectively we intend that we come into harmony and the earth will come into harmony, okay? And so these higher systems of parasitic programs and financial institutions and all of these systems that are hierarchical and trying to create separation are slowly dissolving. And that's happening naturally, by the way, based on the vibrational frequency in which we are at right now. Essentially, we can utilize color in order to change the experiences. If there is a terrible argument in the house, let's say, a teenager, is there arguing terribly with the mother, and you are the father, you want to hold space and create order in the home. You can ground the home. Because you are genetically connected to these organisms, you are one with them, closer niche than with other strangers. So you can essentially visualize the color that represents peace for you. And don't look at this picture. You have to use your intuition for the color. If peace is a color of light blue or some color like this, you begin to fill it into your home. And immediately all of the organisms that are in unconscious states, remember that unconscious people are easily programmed, okay? Because they are unconscious, they're kind of in robotic state. You can enter this state of peace and it will infuse the morphogenetic field in order for them to be triggered into the memory of peace, and it'll draw them out of their survival mode, okay? So this is something that people have been utilizing. All of the sages, major light workers throughout history have been practicing these abilities, mastering these life force utilizations in order to do things. And of course, sometimes they are utilized in wrong ways in ancient history, especially in Chinese courts. These energy practices of Taoism, Taoist energy practices, have been utilized for centuries, and they utilize them in the art of war, okay, which is one of the reasons why the Mongolians, for example, have ruled for hundreds and hundreds of years, because of their mastery of many of these ancient techniques, including alchemizing energy, okay? So most of the most powerful ancient cultures, civilizations in our history are very well aware of these practices. So essentially, let's go deeper into the DNA now. Our body comes into harmonious structure when we embody a state of harmony in the body, and there is a way to activate that in the physical body. As we know, Michelangelo created this beautiful image structure of the body, the 5 elements and the harmonious state of the physical body. But essentially, in this state, we see the Merkaba as an expression of the physical body, and it is deeply connected with the integration system of all the organs inside of the body. Again, how we navigate physical and non-physical states is by the different brain waves that we're holding. So remember to begin to connect with that so that you can shift and help yourself trigger. When you are in an inharmonious geometric shape of the body, you are depleting life force. You are in a centrifugal state of creation, which means that you are destructive, self-destructive, okay? When you come into alignment, you come into the highest optimum harmonious geometry, which essentially is this Merkabaic, which is essentially the cultivation of your life force that you now draw upward into the activation of higher faculties in order to create harmonious balance, opening the channels for source to enter into the body. When that happens, your DNA comes into alignment in its most harmonious construction state. You essentially begin to heal your body, change completely the programs that you're running, the repetitive trauma that you are adapting to based on your incarnation now no longer is affecting your ability to co-create and manifest into the physical. And this is something that we can see from the origin of your conception of life, even in when you're creating life yourself, when you're creating a child, you understand that your vibrational frequency, the input from your subconscious mind that you put into the creation, is absolutely essential in creating entanglement or co-creation. Okay, so the key word is symmetry. We want to come into symmetric structures of harmony. That's what you are in your optimum state. Be mindful of anything that takes you out of that symmetry into an inharmonious geometric structure. Okay, so a little bit more on these 369 and the Trinities exchanged, but this is a different kind of math in which we understand the root. What's really important about this, and you can spend your time reading this because it goes really deep into the mathematical equations, and this is thanks to Jane 108, incredible, incredible mathematician. If you're into numerology, definitely check him out. He is the one that you want to look at, okay? But essentially, something that's very interesting about 369 is that all the numbers end in 6. And one of the things that I channeled in 2018 is that 6 is the number of this earth. We are here to experience 6. When you break that down into its lowest form, we come out to the number 3. Okay. Now, in the solar system, the planetary order that we are in, we are number 3. 3 is the law of creation, as I mentioned you. That's why I talk about the law of 3 at the very beginning of this journey, this challenge. But 6 represents incarnation, death. Okay, death. It's always the regeneration. So this earth, the entire construct of this earth, the entire matrix of this earth is defined on this number 6, which is the representation of life and death cycles. We are here to experience incarnation, reincarnation if you're sleeping, or going into higher octaves when you wake up. But you maintain in this incarnation if you're in a constant state of sleep. The key in your life is to understand the ebb and flow of death and life, regeneration and death, and moving through those cycles in an elegant, congruent manner in which it enhances and nourishes your highest expression. That is essentially what we want to come into. Okay, the only way that we come into that is by harmonizing that geometry in the body. Anything that takes you out of harmony, music, don't fall asleep. And I used to be very more much more strict about things than I am now. But, and of course, everything is in cycles, as you know, but when you enter a state of awareness, you become hypersensitive to electromagnetic fields. I cannot have any piece of technology in my room when I'm sleeping. Everything has to be disconnected, unplugged, and off because we're super sensitive to that frequency and it disrupts your sleep. Okay, so it's really important to understand that. Any kind of technology can disrupt your sleep because they are oscillating at hertz. And if you haven't learned anything from this presentation today, I want you to take away the power of vibrational frequency and its effect on your sensitive geometry. It's very, very, very powerful effect. Okay, so anything that takes you out of harmony, we want to be mindful of, and we want to try to eliminate our presence of that so that we can come into harmony. And essentially we come into alignment with music. Again, all of the music industry right now is in alignment with 440 hertz, all of it. Okay, so it's meant to trigger out of balanced emotional responses. Okay, so whether that's sexual energy, whether that's anger, frustration, it plays on the traumas of humanity, the unresolved trauma of humanity, and it manipulates on that. Why? Because that's how you produce consumers that are looking external to fulfill the emptiness and the pain and the suffering that they cannot integrate within them. We become an external parasite, essentially. Okay. All right, my love. So again, we're going to just end here with coherence, talking about, once again, vibrational frequencies that come in and out of coherent ranges. We want to learn that what we want to come into resonance with is essentially, resonance. So let me find that video. Once again, I showed it yesterday, but essentially we are learning how to come into resonance. Hold on, let me find it for you. Okay, so I'm just going to share my screen with you here. Once again, we're just going to refresh our memories on how it is. Okay, so as you see, when you're in a vibrational resonance that's not in alignment with you, you will not see it, interact with it, be with it. That's the law of the universe. When you are in resonance with something, you will interact, you will connect, you will see, you will experience it. Okay. All right. So this is how we essentially work with this information. And that is how the law of resonance works. It's working interdimensionally in the physical, in many different dimensional layers. We are essentially utilizing this information. So what I'd like to do now is I'd love to go into the meditation portion of our workshop today. And then I'll answer some questions. Wow, so many people. Welcome everybody that's joined me. It's such an honor to have you here. I'm going to go into the meditation and I will answer questions at the end. Okay, so working on our vibrational frequency, what we're going to identify and what I'm going to work with you on today is learning how to feel different vibrational resonances in your body and utilizing those colors to encode the way that you feel and heal your body. In pranic healing, I am a certified medical pranic healer, and essentially we have to learn the inside out biochemistry and organic aspects of our organisms and the frequencies that every organ is functioning at, essentially in order to understand what color frequency to use to heal that part of the body. So even though I became certified in this practice, what I found through my practical application by just using my own intuitive abilities are that humans need different kinds of frequencies depending on their specific situation. Because again, it's like a language, right? There's a difference between the word compassion, care, love, affection. They all kind of are talking about the same topic, right? But they're all different facets of that. Okay, so in that same way, the way that vibrational frequencies, and remember, frequency is very sensitive. every wave creates a geometry. Every geometry creates an effect on the physical body. So we have to be very careful as healers, whether you're healing yourself or healing another, that you are clear in your body completely, because it taints the intention of the vibrational frequency that you're going. And the way that we create is through the subconscious mind, once again, okay? So this is why I want you to practice working with identifying what colors are healing for you, okay? So let's go ahead and go into a meditation. Go ahead and inhale deeply and exhale. Breathing. And as you come into a state of complete relaxation, I want you to ground yourself down to the center of the earth. Breathing. Closing your eyes, go ahead and visualize connecting to the center of the earth. Again, we're going to be connecting with the hertz of the earth, coming in alignment with the Schumann resonance, coming in alignment with the natural harmonies of the planet. That's what we're doing. So just allow yourself to come into alignment with earth. You're going to feel your body coming into a state of complete relaxation, complete calm. Breathing. Okay, so go ahead and notice how your body feels. We're going to activate higher states. Go ahead and close your first chakra, your second and your third. Go ahead and open your heart, your throat, and your third eye. Go ahead and visualize a powerful sphere all around your body. Go ahead and go up into your seventh and your eighth. Activate the seventh and eighth. Go ahead and see what color do you see here in the seventh and eighth chakra. Okay, go ahead and put that into the seventh and eighth. Allowing yourself to come into a state of complete co-creation in alignment with your highest expression. Use your intuition to see the color. Breathing. Okay, we're going to go deeper now. I want you to visualize the color that represents your highest vibrational frequency. Put it up. And I want you to identify the color that represents healing for you. Okay, what color is that? Go ahead and fill your space with that color. I want you to visualize your bubble all around you being filled with that color. And all you're going to do is you're going to observe how your body changes as you feel that color in your body. Go ahead and take a look at that. And I'm just going to share my screen. For those of you that need assistance in color theory, allow yourself to enter into your space the color that represents the highest vibrational frequency. Breathing. And just notice how it feels to embody that vibrational frequency. Let's go ahead and allow yourself to clear the body from any debris of the day, anything that caused stress and anxiety. Allow yourself to eliminate from the body down to the center of the earth. Okay, go ahead and now notice. I want you to now shift gears a little bit, and we are working in an experience. I want you to see the color that represents guilt. Okay. What color represents guilt? I want you to go ahead and put that color into your space. And you're just going to experience for a moment what it feels like to have this color of guilt in your body. Notice how the body contracts. Notice if you feel nauseous, dizzy, heavy, stressed out, or perhaps it causes no reaction for you. So just explore and see what happens. Okay. Very good. Go ahead now and select the color of acceptance. What's the color of acceptance? Go ahead and bring that color of acceptance into your body. And just notice how you respond. Breathing deeply. And go ahead and select the color that represents love for you. Go ahead and bring it into your space. Surround yourself with the color of love. Go ahead and select the color of peace. I want you to bring that color into your body. Fill your entire sphere with the color of peace. Let's go and select the color for the color of unity and harmony. Harmony. Fill it in. Fill in your entire field with this color. Very good. So as you see, your body shifts and changes with this. I want you to connect to source now as you bring source light down into your body. And I want you to see, what is the color of source for you? What color comes up for you? Allow yourself to bring it into the body. I want you to allow yourself to close the first, to open the first three chakras back into a balanced state. Gently allowing yourself to go into the heart, the throat, and the third eye, and bringing that into a balanced state. Go up into your seventh and your eighth chakra. Go ahead and bring yourself into a balanced state. Activate the seventh and the eighth, expanding the seventh and the eighth. Okay, we're going to go up into the ninth. Activate the ninth. Activate the 10th. Activate the 11th. Activate the 12th. Activate the 13th. The 14th. The 15th. The 15th. The 16th. The 17th. The 18th. 19th. 20th. 21. And 22. Okay. So above you is a powerful white light, a source. Go ahead and connect to that. Bring it down into your body. I want you to anchor down into the center of the earth now as you come into absolute alignment with your body. Bringing your body into its optimum state. I want you to spin your Merkaba, coming into that Merkaba state as you are aligning your body in alignment. I want you to see the cross section between the source light and then the pillar of white light that moves to the center core of the belly out through the back. It goes around the parameter of the earth, anchoring you into the earth DNA so that you can navigate in a state of consciousness. At the center of these two energy points, I want you to expand that white light all around you. That's how you anchor it into the organs, into the cells, into the DNA system of your body. Okay? coming into that harmonious geometric structure. Excellent work. I want you guys to bring yourself back into the room. Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me today. It was such an honor to be here as always. And you guys have such amazing questions. I think I have one question from Patty M. When we are at a high frequency and vibration, does it mean we can also connect to angelic realms? Because it's come to my mind, Archangel Gabriel last month was Saint Lazarus. Okay, awesome. So yeah, so actually I will touch a little bit on them, but every single dimensional layer, as I mentioned, has different, beings that are pertinent to those dimensional layers. And the angelic beings are primarily from the 11th and 12th dimensional layers. Still within the earth realms, still within the 13 dimensional layers. But they're primarily up in these spaces, okay? So around the 11th and 12th chakra. So yeah, they are an expression of evolved genetic expressions of this dimensional layer. And you very much need to work with them if they come up to you, okay? If they are in resonance with you at this time, they definitely have something to share, something that you are working with. Okay, so we are also angels. We have an entire angelic archetypal aspect of ourselves. Some of us even have wings that are essentially our fields, the morphogenetic field expanding into its geometric expression of these levels, dimensional layers of these angelic realms, 11th and 12th. Okay, so they have a little bit more of a complex energy structure, in other words, which is why they appear to have wings. And when you tune into the angelic realm, you are activating that geometrical structure in your body. So definitely tune into that. And of course, even within the angelic realms, there are sub-archetypal ranges of frequency, as in with any species. So go ahead and see which one of these angels resonates more with you and see if you want to work with that one, okay? All right, I want to thank you so much for being here. I love you guys. Brandizer, yes, yes, yes. Darina, thank you so much. Leon, wonderful to have you here. Deborah, so great to see you. I did answer your question earlier in the video, so check it out. Let me know if you have any questions about it, and I'd be happy to answer that. Guys, have an amazing night, and I will see you on Monday. All my love. Bye-bye.